I would honor you. You have no idea the honor it is for me to be here with you guys. When I started my business 10 years ago, I never dreamed that I would be able to rub shoulders with people like Nancy Jo Ryan and Patty and Marie and, just everybody here. So thank you so much for inviting me. And the best way that I can say thank you is just by sharing some of the things that I've been doing that have really been helping our organization recently. So every day I wake up so blessed to have the life that I have because of the Pampered Chef, and I really feel like I have it all. I thought everyone might like to hear my story and kind of where I came from so that you can truly appreciate the passion that I have for our company and how it changes lives. So I grew up in a very low income family. I was basically a welfare child. I can remember WIC delivering food to our home, my mom buying groceries with food stamps, and I received free breakfast and free lunch at school, which I thought was pretty cool. My dad used to stand in bread and cheese lines in the city, and I can remember my mom sending me into McDonald's to get napkins because she couldn't afford to buy toilet paper. So needless to say, we had very little. When I was 16, I started dating my husband, and at the age of 19, I married my high school sweetheart. We had our first child just 2 years later when I was 21, and we now have 5 children, and we've been married for, it'll be 24 years in June. That was just this Christmas. Neither my husband or I finished college, and I stopped working full-time in 1994 when our first child was born. I did not work outside the home for 11 years until I started Pampered Chef in 2005. I loved my life of homeschooling and being with our children all day, but we were struggling financially and slipping further and further into credit card debt, a life very similar to my childhood. So I started to check out the Pampered Chef. I don't like cooking at all. Me either. And Hamburger Helper was considered a gourmet meal at our house. The thought of standing up in front of people and talking petrified me, but I was desperate. There weren't many options out there for someone who only wanted to work one night a week and no weekends. I'm glad I didn't let my fears hold me back, because after joining the Pampered Chef, the income that I earned allowed me to pay off all of our credit card debt in less than 6 months. And we have been debt-free ever since. I was able to transition my children into private school. I've paid cash for braces, cars, college, a missions trip to India, and recently a 3-bedroom and walk-in closet remodel. 2.5 years ago, our family changed in a way we never imagined. We had the unexpected blessing of adopting our 5th child, and my income from Pampered Chef paid for the entire expense. So yeah, she's all ours, free and clear, tax, title, tax.
What's her name?
Jalen. With the pacifier in it. I went from being the Hamburger Helper queen to being able to make amazing meals for my family. I went from being the shyest person at the party to being able to talk to anyone, anywhere, anytime. And I always also am able to buy the softest toilet paper I can find. I can give you the cost of paying off debt, the cost of braces, private school, college, cars, missions trips, remodeling projects, and adoptions. But I cannot put a price tag on how it feels every single day when I walk to the mailbox and have absolutely no fear or anxiety about how I'm going to pay whatever bill is in there. Traveling to India with all of my children and experiencing living in poverty with no electricity or running water, and having people give generously out of their poverty will impact our families' lives forever. Knowing that Jalen, our youngest daughter, is now in a safe home with a family that loves her, and I get to be with her every single day and see all of her first, is invaluable. Our business changes lives, and in my opinion, we are a ground floor company again. experience, and brand recognition. So I am so excited about 2016, aren't you? Yes. So when Nancy Jo and I were discussing what I should share with you, we kind of narrowed it down to a couple of things. Belief, recruiting, team recruiting, which leads to developing leaders. But the more I thought about these topics, the more I realized that everything that I do, everything that each one of you do that brings success, isn't because we do them one time and get lucky. It's because we have disciplined ourselves to do the things that bring success. We do them every day, every time, and we do them even when we don't feel like doing them. It's all summed up in that one word, discipline. So I'm going to assume that all of you were at National Conference last July, this past July, right? And we got to hear from Roy Vaden. Last year I read 2 of his books. We unpacked the other one yesterday, Procrastinate on Purpose, and Take the Stairs. So I'll be referencing a lot of that. We're going to start with one of my favorite Rory quotes. Success is never owned, it is only rented, and the rent is due every day. Paying your rent every day, that's discipline. Luck only takes you so far in this world. Discipline will take you to the top. If you look at the life of any person that you admire, it doesn't matter if they are a sports player, an entrepreneur, a doctor, or the very men and women in this room, you're going to find that every successful person has mastered the art of self-discipline. Success isn't easy. I'm a huge Grey's Anatomy fan, and there was an episode where a doctor was about to do a surgery, and it was the most difficult surgery, and you know how they do a little voiceover in the beginning, those of you who watch it, and she said, no one remembers easy. And think about that. All the things that have come to us easy, we just kind of forget them. It's the things that we have to work for, the hard things in our life that we actually remember. Success isn't overnight. Success isn't ordinary. And so becoming successful requires us to do the things that aren't easy and the things that people don't ordinarily do. Success means we have to develop the self-discipline to get ourselves to do the things we need to do, even when we don't feel like doing them. When we discipline ourselves to do the things that will bring us success, even when we don't want to do them, it's because we know that today's actions connect to tomorrow's results. What results do we all want? We all want the same things. We want more sales, we want more bookings, we want more team recruits, and we want more directors in our organizations. And if I had to pick the one thing that every single one of us wants, is the more directors, right? That's our ultimate goal. Because not only are we going to be developing other people, but that's going to be developing us and growing ourselves as well. Everything we do on a daily basis, every action, every step we take for both our personal business and for our teams is a direct connection to developing leaders. It's paying the rent. So let's talk first about belief. How many of you have seen this before? How many have not ever seen this? This is not new to us. We've been talking about it for years. We've all heard about the belief triangle, and we've all taught it to our teams. We've got to believe to achieve, because our beliefs determine our actions determine our results, and our results affirm our beliefs. But I want to talk to you a minute about when you don't believe.
Oh, hello.
What about when you're scared? What about when you're hurt, you're angry, you're discouraged, you're bitter, and you don't feel like taking action? I'm sure none of you have ever felt that way, probably only me. I want to share with you a story that I shared with the execs at ExecSem in September. Remember at conference when Rory talked about the cows in Buffalo and how they respond very differently to their storms? Just a refresher, cows run away from the storms and end up maximizing their pain and discomfort, but that's a very natural thing to do when you're afraid, to run away. But buffalo do the opposite. They run into the storm and end up running right through it and minimizing the amount of time that they're in pain and discomfort. I spent almost all of 2014 as a cow. I didn't realize I was choosing that kind of thinking because I didn't even know that the cow mentality existed. But looking back, I can see so many ways I was running with the storms in my business. There were many storms that I was fighting, but the biggest one for me was doubt and fear and lack of belief. Promoting to executive director in January of 2014 was truly one of the proudest moments of my career, but it was also one of the scariest times of my business. Just 1 week after promoting, I flew to Arizona to my first executive seminar, and it was a strange time with our company. Marla had just left, Doris had just come back, and Tracy was here to help, and I was with Nancy Joe and Marie and Patty, and here I was petrified. And instead of being empowered, excited, motivated, eager to learn, I let my fears and insecurities take over, and I felt unworthy, intimidated, and petrified. And it didn't stop when I got home. Over the next weeks and months, and actually pretty much all of 2014, I made one of the biggest mistakes I would ever make in my business. I stopped working the way that I needed to work. It wasn't because I thought, oh, I've arrived, I'm an exec now, I can sit back and relax. I was actually so afraid of losing what we had accomplished as a team that I started to let those fears control my actions. And what do we do when we're afraid? We run. I hadn't stopped working. I was working harder than ever because it's hard to run away from storms, and it's even harder to run with them. My fears of losing what we had accomplished had me more focused on trying to save rather than develop. Sometimes it was more like trying to bring back to life. So of course I started to doubt my abilities because we all know, unless you're Jesus, you can't bring back the dead. By September of 2014, I was stressed out, miserable, and ready to throw in the towel. We had lost one second generation director in March, but I had minimum structure when I promoted. So we promoted one in April to replace it, and that was the one and only director promotion we had in all of 2014. We were maintaining, but not growing. And we weren't growing because I was focused on maintaining and saving instead of growing. And if you aren't growing, you are dying. We needed to grow, we needed momentum. Momentum was how we went from an advanced team in June of 2013 to an exec team by the end of that year. We had momentum. We lost it because I stopped believing, which then stopped my actions. So how was I going to get it back? I didn't know. I hadn't figured it out. But what I did realize is that I wanted it back. And because I started asking myself the question, how do I get that momentum back? I actually started my momentum by asking how. In January 2015, I'm back at Exec Sem. Can't say that I had my belief back, but I had my desire and I had a commitment to my business and to our company. And soon after Exec Sem, Gene Jonas and Judy Joel held a call where they asked us to send them our big, bold goals of how many directors we wanted to promote that year. This was just last year. So I thought about what I tell my directors that they need to do to strengthen their teams. And what do we want them to do right away? Re-promote themselves with 5 new team members. So I thought, well, maybe that's what I should do. Maybe I should re-promote myself as an executive with 8 new directors. 6 new first-generation directors and 2 new second-generation directors. Yeah, right? Let's do that. You wanna know what I said to myself after that thought? You're nuts, woman. It took you 8 years to do this. What makes you think you can do it in 1 year? And I started saying, you can't do this. And then I started saying, and what if you try to do this and you fail? In Take the Stairs, Rory says very often the emotional energy of making a decision is greater than the physical energy of actually executing that decision. Fear and doubt were the emotional energies that I was surrounding myself with. And this morning we had a great reminder, if you were out on the patio, we have not been given a spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and of a sound mind. And my sound mind reminded me that successful people do the things they need to do even when they don't want to do them. I may not believe, I may be scared, but I wanted success, so I was going to do it scared. First step, I emailed Judy and Jean my goal. So now it wasn't a matter of could I or should I, it was definitely how do I. And there it is, the moment Stacy became a buffalo.
Oh, that is so cute.
So did we do it? Did we add 8 new directors to our organization in 2015? Unfortunately, no. We missed it by 1.
Oh.
Michelangelo says, the greater danger for most of us isn't that our aim is too high and we miss it, but that our aim is too low and we reach it. What if my goal had only been 3 or 1? With those 7 director promotions, we created momentum, that driving force. More importantly, because I disciplined myself to take the actions I need to take, even when I didn't believe or feel like doing them, we got the results I wanted, and now I believe. Our little team sold $1,421,990.95 last year. That was a 41.2% increase over 2014. We recruited 211 new consultants, a 77.3% increase over 2014. Was it worth setting that goal in the midst of my fear and disbelief? Heck yeah. Do I have a huge, big, scary goal for 2016? You bet I do. And do I think we can do it? Absolutely. So let's talk about some of the actions that brought our success. And the first one is personal recruiting. So I feel very blessed that I have been able to recruit well from the beginning. In my 10 years, I've recruited 296 new consultants. In my opinion, recruiting is a skill that anyone can learn. Most of recruiting is about discipline. Always doing the things that will generate leads and following up even when you don't feel like it. If you want to develop and promote leaders, you have to personally set the example. The more decks of cards that you're playing with, the more aces you're going to find. So I'm sure many of you were able to be on the webinar that I did a couple months ago or listen to the playback where I talked about my CBAs of recruiting. C is connecting, the B is bragging, and the A is asking. I really can't think of anything that someone would do that focuses on recruiting that doesn't fit into one of those 3 categories. So connecting is just building that relationship. Nancy Joe did a great training last night on connecting with people. It's establishing rapport. It's learning about the other person. Bragging, it's just sharing your story. How has Pampered Chef changed your life? Sharing other people's stories. It's sharing the benefits of our business. Every game you play at your show, every ticket activity, every commission check you share, every picture of a trip that you show, using the recruiting slide, that's all bragging about our company. And then asking, Giving everyone the opportunity to decide for themselves if this is something that could meet a need for their life. Staying in contact, following up, asking for referrals. You're going to hear from some great leaders in a little bit, share some of their tips for recruiting, how they connect, brag, and ask. Of the 3 CBAs, bragging and asking are the easiest taught skills. It's the connecting part that can be very difficult for people. It was for me, because remember, by nature, I am a very shy person. Very introverted. Oh my gosh, my heart was beating out of my chest back there. But you know what? Anybody can learn how to do it. For me, I just always start with a smile and a handshake and introduce myself, and then flip it and start talking about them. And the tip that Nancy Jo said, asking that question, why? Great way to connect with people. So let me share a quick little story. When I was flying home from National Conference this summer, I couldn't find a seat at my gate, so I sat at the next gate over. And I found myself sitting with a group of men and women that were traveling home to Ohio from a mission trip that they had just been on in Chicago. And there was a young girl named Katie there, and she was traveling with her husband. Now, you can all picture this. Flying home from conference, all the outgoing, extroverted people leaving conference walk through the airport, starting conversations, booking shows, and trying to recruit the TSA agents. The shy, introverted people like me sit quietly in their seat and wait for someone to talk to them. The disciplined person is ready to respond and connect either way. One of Katie's friends noticed my Pampered Chef bag and asked if I had any of the new products with me. And I said no, unfortunately they're all packed and checked on the plane. But remember my tip for connecting, start asking questions about them to take the focus off of me and put it back on them. So I said, where are y'all headed? Are you headed on a trip somewhere, or are you headed home? And that's when I found out about their missions trip. That was my common ground, because we had also been on a mission trip, so it made me very easy for me to connect with them on that topic. Every once in a while, someone would ask a question because I'd given them a catalog, and Katie would jump in and start talking about the product. She basically would take over for me. Oh, the salad chopper this, the salad chopper that, the salad chopper, to the point that I finally said, Katie, why aren't you selling Pampered Chef? And she said, oh, I sell, and she said, another company, and I am terrible at it. And I said, well, Katie, do you talk about this other company's products with the same passion that you talk about our salad chopper? And her husband said, no. And a light bulb went off for Katie. She had that epiphany. So we exchanged contact information, set up an interview, and Katie joined my team in August. Here's what I want to stress to you more than anything. Recruiting doesn't start at the show. It starts right here with you today, about you being self-disciplined. So the theme of our retreat is Sweet 16, My Year to Soar. So I've got 16 tips for you to be a strong recruiter. I did not put them on a slide, I'm sorry, but they're easy to remember. First, you need to hold at least 8 shows a month. In 2015, I held 133 virtual freezer meal or station style parties. So that's about 11 a month. In 2015, I recruited 43 new consultants because I was in front of enough people. You have to do the host coaching to ensure there are enough people at the show to generate the leads. Develop a host coaching system that works for you and follow it. Be disciplined. You have to be warm, friendly, conversational, and connect with people during your parties, no matter what is going on in your life. You have to make sure you have product knowledge of our power tools so that you can create a desire for them, because not everyone joins our team for the money. People want products too. You have to be likable and fun. People will join your team because of you. Katie joined my team because I connected with her. Okay, that's a different note. Hold on. Oh, that was number 5. Number 6, you have to be intentional about bragging about your Pampered Chef business during your shows, even when the guests have their heads buried in their catalogs and you're thinking they want absolutely nothing to do with this business. You have to ask every guest at every show, every time they're at a show. Because how many of you did not say yes the first time you were asked? You have to set the appointment for the follow-up interview. You have to practice that interview so that when you're talking with someone about the business, it doesn't sound scripted, it sounds conversational. You have to connect with all of your outside orders. Number 10, sorry. 9 is practice your interview. Sorry. Connect with your outside orders and thank them and offer them the opportunity as well. You have to be the one that realizes you don't have to be at a show to share the opportunity. Be ready to brag about this business and how it's changed your life wherever you are. You have to be diligent about finding ways to use social media to grow and supplement your business. You have to remember that it's not always about the person that you're talking with today that is your recruit lead. It could be their friend or family member that they refer you to. You have to decide that no matter what happens in your life, you are going to work on your business every single day. You have to do all of these things even if you don't believe you are a strong recruiter or you're scared. And number 16, you have to remember that it's not about you. It is always about helping someone else. It's about meeting the needs of the people. It's about sharing the amazing opportunity that we have all chosen to take advantage of. I think it was Bobby Lynn said last night, find the need, fill the need. Okay, so let's move on to team recruiting, which is part of developing leaders. Previously, I said that we need to set the example, and that is so true, but setting the example does not mean that your team is going to recruit. It does not happen through osmosis. In 2014, I recruited 35 new consultants and didn't promote a single first-generation director. Remember, that was the year of my cow mentality. So even though I was disciplined in my personal recruiting, I wasn't with my team recruiting and developing leaders. So I want to share with you 3 things that I did in 2015 that had the biggest impact on our growth. Something old, something new, something borrowed. There wasn't anything blue. Let's start with the something old. One-on-one coaching and show tracking with 3 to 4 people. That's show-based coaching. Like the belief triangle, I'm sure you've all heard about how important it is to track your business, and for anyone to working with someone to promote or promoting to director, it's especially important to track their business. This is what I did in 2013 when we were working to promote to exec, but stopped in 2014 when I let my doubts and fears take over my actions. Tracking is an action that requires discipline. There's not anything real fun about it. But numbers tell a story, and that story never lies. We can learn so much from them when we take time to read that story. So this tracker is in your workbook, and I'm sure Nancy Jo will upload it to the page for you. You've probably seen something very similar to this from home office. I just added a few more columns to it, more information that I wanted. So I got a binder and I put a tab in there for every single person that I was working with to promote, and I put 4 trackers behind each tab and wrote the months in it that we were on. So we started in February actually, so I had February, March, April, and May. They had this exact same thing. Now, I love all of the programs that we have out there, like All About the Pace and Destination Director and Step Up Your Business. We ran them all several times last year, but nothing compares to the one-on-one show-based coaching. It's your gift of time. Nothing says to your consultant that you believe in them more than giving them your time. And remember what we talked about yesterday, time is that investment that makes your money into more money. When you use a tracker, you can see exactly where your consultant is struggling and why they aren't recruiting, but more importantly, they can see it too. If their average attendance is 5 to 6 people at a show, you've got to work on host coaching. If they have 10 to 12 people at every show, but their sales are at 350 range all the time, you've got to work on their product knowledge and selling skills. If they aren't booking 2 to 3 shows on average from every show, that's a problem that needs to be addressed right away. Because even if they do recruit and promote, they will not be able to sustain their business if they cannot book shows abundantly. Outside orders. Do you think your consultants are calling them? No, they're not. If you are finding out how many outside orders they are getting, then you can then coach and train them how to follow up with those outside orders and turn them into bookings and recruit leads. If there was a specific skill that I saw that they needed to work on, I would offer some quick tips and then direct them to some online training or an MP3 to listen to or a conference call, and then we would discuss that on our next call. After about 30 days of coaching and tracking with them, I started to buddy them up with each other. I would do a 3-way call or a Zoom call with the 2 of them and spend about 15 minutes with each of them running through their trackers and offering tips. But this is when the magic started to happen. It was absolutely incredible to watch. They both wanted to impress each other, so they were very intentional and disciplined with all of their host coaching and their show things during the week, so they could talk about what they had done right to the other person and their awesome results they were getting. Even more exciting for me was to see when one of them had a rough week and how the other would start to encourage and affirm and coach them. By the end, I was pretty much just the moderator for the call, and they were coaching each other, encouraging each other, and believing each other and refusing to let each other fail. This was the perfect on-the-job training for their coaching and training for their team members. And it also created a strong bond within our director team and those working to promote, because they were all working to promote to get together, and they knew the struggles and obstacles that each one had overcome. So something new. I'm kind of embarrassed and ashamed to admit this, but I have always kind of skirted around working with my new consultants to recruit from the very beginning. I would share the benefits, ask them if they were interested in building a team, but somewhere along the line in their training, I would drop the ball. I used to say it was because I'm a people pleaser, and I was afraid of pressuring them, of scaring them, or upsetting them. And a very wise woman, Carol Radu, this past year shared with me, I was really just a selfish person. That was tough to hear. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I love you, Carol. It was because I was letting my fears keep me from saying the things that I needed to be said, and I was really only thinking about myself and making sure they liked me. I had a great new consultant training system in place that was based off of our 72-hour strong start. I had all the words there scripted to say to help my new consultants think about the people in their life that could benefit from the business, and the words for how to share the business with them. All I needed to do was to discipline myself to stop skipping that part. Stop being scared and selfish and start focusing more on how helping them build a team from the very beginning could help them, because it's not about me. Not everybody's going to want to do it. Some people are going to say they want it, but they won't follow through, and that's okay. But every once in a while, you're going to find someone that wants it and will discipline themselves with the actions it takes to start building. So remember Katie, the new consultant from the airport? I didn't skip recruiting in Katie's new consultant training. I didn't let my fears keep me from asking her to think of people that could benefit from the business. People that were in the same situation as her. People that loved to cook. People that love our products. And after she made her list, I wasn't afraid to ask her why her sister-in-law, Renee, would be great at the Pampered Chef. And how could Pampered Chef benefit Renee? And then I forced myself to say, hey, do you think we could set up a 3-way call with Renee? Why don't you put some feelers out there and see if Renee would be willing to chat with us? And guess what? Renee joined her team. And so did Amanda, and so did Marie. So Katie finished up her new consultant training, and in 90 days had 3 new consultants on her team. And then she went right into my one-on-one coaching program and is committed to promoting to director in 2016. I don't know if it's right slide. Okay, so let's talk about the something new. Oh, Borrow. I'm sorry, this is Borrow. Thank you. Virtual opportunity events. So honestly, the first time I heard about them, I was on an exec call in September of 2014, right at the peak of my cow mentality when I was ready to throw in the towel. Julie Ritter had created this idea, an event, and was sharing about it and the success and the benefits she experienced. And all I heard was, more work, more time, you're not good enough, it's not gonna work, blah, 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 blah. So I hung up from the call and just kept running with my storm. Fast forward to January 2015, and my Buffalo mentality, how can I promote leaders? Well, maybe I could try that opportunity event thing that Julie Ritter talked about. This would be a way that I could help my entire organization recruit and won't even take an hour of my time. It'll be so easy. She already has a basic script. All I have to do is tweak it a bit for my personal taste and copy and paste. I can do that, it's so simple. See the difference between the thinking of a cow and a buffalo? We started holding these events and something amazing happened. New consultants started joining our team. Not only did these events help consultants sign people, but it also taught them how to share the business opportunity. They were able to see how much the business changed lives because they were seeing the stories shared by all of the other team members, not just hearing from me. They were able to recruit together, which made it so much more fun. Even if they were just observing or lurking out in there, they saw that people really do want to join our business and people really do want to build teams. Because I followed the exact same script every single time, they saw that it really was just about being intentional and disciplined. So we had many first-time recruiters on our team last year, and of the 211 new consultants that came into our organization, many of them came from these opportunity events. Galatians 5:9 says, "A little yeast works through the whole batch of dough." The online opportunity events were instrumental in changing the recruiting culture in my organization because a little bit of recruiting can work its way through your entire organization. My consultants still get excited about booking parties and high sales, but you should see the posts when somebody welcomes somebody new to our team, or when they message me and say, "Have you approved her yet so I can welcome her?" Or him. So I talked a lot faster than I expected, so I'm going to wrap up now. I want to leave you with one final quote. It's a Jim Rohn quote. "Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. It doesn't matter where you are today. It doesn't matter what you've accomplished or what mark that you've missed. It doesn't matter how you feel or if you're afraid or if you don't believe. Just start taking action because those actions are going to bring you results and then the belief will come." So like Nike says, Just do it. Sure, yeah.
I'm really intrigued by the virtual recruiting thing, and I'll admit that's like really outside my comfort zone. But you said you're using the same script each time, and people are sharing their stories. So like in the event, do you have like why I started, and you have different people post, or are you copying and pasting? I mean, how is that really working?
So I set my event up only 1 week before we're actually going to have the event. And I usually ask all of my directors to share their story. And we all have our stories already typed up, so literally I'm posting my picture and copying and pasting my story, so it takes me 10 seconds to do that. But what happens is the consultants that are joining the team, they see the directors sharing their stories, and they start sharing their stories on their own. And that's all happening leading up to the event. And all of the leads are invited to those events, and they're just seeing the stories ahead of time.
The stories are already there before the event.
Yes, it's in the week leading up to the event. The actual event itself is exactly the same every time. The only exception is whatever we've earned. If we've earned something new, like, you know, our 750, get this, that's the only part I ever update. Like, oh, here's what we've earned the last year just by doing a couple parties a month.
Oh, you have like a list of everything that's been earned?
Yes, I do in one post. January we got this, February we got this, March we got this. And I can give you the scripts. However Nancy wants me to send it to you. It's in a Word document. I don't use Evernote if somebody wants to teach me that. Maybe we should not. I need to use that.
I'm just thinking that this would be a very appropriate thing for us to add to PCT training.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Actually, it's still on the executive forum. It's on all of your regional pages. Sharon and I set up an event that ran all the way through December 31st. You can pull it all from, I'm telling you, the only thing I've updated is what else did we earn last year.
When you set up your virtual opportunity event, you have all of your directors invite whoever they want to that event, so you might have, you know, a couple thousand
Yes,
people.
this is very important. I don't think we've had a couple thousand, but not that big yet. Do not create an event from your team page because your consultants will not be able to invite their leads. You have to set, and the easiest way for you to do this as the leader of your team is I create the event and I add all my directors, and then each director says to their team, here's our opportunity event. If you want to come to it, let me know. I'll invite you, and then you can invite anybody that you want. It's open, right? Well, no, I'm going to tell you, I keep it private, and I assure the people that are coming that it will be private, because what if they don't want people to know that they're checking this out?
Yeah, makes sense.
So you don't make it automatic to your team?
No,
Okay.
no. They have to ask to be invited to it.
Stacy, do you make your directors admins?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you run this monthly?
No.
Okay.
Why? Here's why I don't run it monthly. My dad always he was talking about boys when he said this to me. He said familiarity breeds contempt, because he didn't want me to be with the boy all the time. He wanted me to, you know, play hard to get. And so that always kind of stuck with me, and I've found that with a lot of things on my team, I'm just going to talk about my team, something that I always do, they kind of get bored with it.
Okay.
And so now I do them once a quarter, and it usually gets to the point where I say, do you think we should, I know when I'm having them, so Vicky's going to know my little secret now. I know when I'm having them, but I kind of play it up like, do you think it's time? And they're like, oh my gosh, yes, will you please? It's like I make them so that they're more likely to get excited about it and join it.
Yeah.
That's what works for our team. You might find that doing one every month works well for your team.
Or you do it monthly to start and then go quarterly. Like
Do whatever.
months in a row.
Yeah.
Yep, you can do whatever you want and what works best for you.
We the boss.
Yes, you are. Anything else? Yeah.
Do you tie in the company phone, recruiting, you know, that they do every so often, every Tuesday or whatever, do you tie
Not
that
to
in
the
at all?
opportunity events. I don't. No. We promote them within our team. Absolutely. Okay.
That was great.
Yeah. Great.